Good morning, YouTube. This is Dana. I'm back again with another video this week. Sorry, I've been off for about 2 weeks, I guess. I've had some work done on my house. And so I was really busy, and I'm finally getting a chance to sit down and do a video. I live what people would consider an electricity light life. I do not use electricity for a lot of things in my house. So today I wanted to just show you a few things that I use around my house and hopefully give you some ideas about how to save some electricity cost in your own home. What you're seeing right now is called a butterfly stove. This is what I use to do my day-to-day cooking. I do not cut on my regular electric stove inside the house. This stove actually sits in my sunroom, which is right off my kitchen. And I use this every morning. And actually, I'm getting ready to put a small pot of coffee on because it's really cold outside this morning, and I have a taste for coffee. I light this up in the morning, and I put some, I'll cook my eggs or whatever I'm going to have for breakfast. And so this is how I save on electricity as far as not cutting on my stove. Because an oven, especially, it's not like I have a big family, I live alone, but a person that cuts on a stove, you draw a lot of electricity off the grid just to warm up maybe like a piece of toast or whatever you're putting in the oven, or even just to cut on your stove. You're actually using a lot of electricity. So this is my butterfly oven, and it actually works on kerosene. And I also have like kerosene heaters. I use kerosene quite a bit because I also use it for lighting. So I tend to keep kerosene, and kerosene stores really well, unlike gasoline. I will keep it for months and months. You can actually, I only keep maybe about 10 gallons at a time because I don't use a lot of it. Because the kerosene stove is actually very fuel efficient. So I just wanted to give you a little insight into that. And also I'm going to show you my kerosene oven. And this oven, I actually have baked bread in this oven. I have baked cakes. Anything that you can put in your regular oven, I have put on this oven. And if you look below that, what that oven is sitting on is actually another kerosene stove. I do a lot of canning during the gardening season. As things come in, I put them off, I put them up for later in the year and for the winter time when there's not a lot of things growing. So this is a larger kerosene stove. It's heavy duty, so that means I can put my canning, my pressure canner on top, and that saves, because if you can, you use, you have a lot of use for your stove. Sometimes you're canning something and it takes 90 minutes to can it. Well, that's a long time for your stove to be on. But this kerosene, this heavy duty kerosene oven, or I guess kerosene burner, is really good for that because it's heavy duty. It gives off a lot of heat, and this is what I actually can on. So that is my oven, my everyday oven that I use, and that is the stove that I use for that oven. So I'm going to put on a pot of coffee and scramble some eggs, and I'm going to show you some other things in my house that I use to reduce my reliance on electricity. I'll be back in a few. I just wanted to say a quick note about percolating coffee. I know a lot of people are like, what, you don't have a coffee maker? I actually do have a coffee machine. I tend not to use it very often because, I've had it for years before I transitioned to kerosene. But the one thing that I really love about percolating coffee on a stove is that your coffee is so hot. Whenever I visit my parents in Florida, I always see my father put his coffee, even after he's put it in, he's taken it straight from the coffee maker, and he will put it in the microwave because he'll complain that it's just not hot enough. Well, when you percolate coffee on the stove, if you tend to, if you want to use a stove, or in my case, a kerosene stove, your coffee is a lot hotter. Any liquid that you actually boil under a flame or on a stove is hotter. So folks that like to put their, sometimes for tea, people will stick the water in the microwave and then they'll complain because the tea gets cold so fast. Well, that's why. Because your water, any liquid, will stay a lot hotter if you actually put it on the stove. So let me drink my cup of coffee, and I'm going to pull out some of my little gadgets, and I will be back. One of the things that I use in my house to save electricity are power strips. And this, I literally have this on everything in my house. Everything that needs to be plugged in or every room has a power strip. And so you can plug it into one plug in the room. You can plug in multiple things. But the useful thing about a power strip, and not all of them have them, so if you look for them, make sure that you actually see this, is this button. This button will cut off the flow of electricity to this power strip altogether. And you'll see that there's an indicator light of if, of like when it's on and off. But the reason that this is useful in your house is because when things are plugged in, they will draw a trickle of energy. Even once you cut an item off, there's still a trickle of energy that it draws. And that trickle can actually become a big thing on your electric bill if you have enough things plugged in. My brother would always complain about me because when he comes to visit me, he is like an electronic junkie. And so when he charges his cell phone, he leaves the charger in the wall and it would drive me crazy. And I would tell him, do not leave that in. And he would just complain, oh, you're crazy. And I would try to explain to him, it draws a little bit of energy. And most people will say, oh, but it's just a little bit. But if you have a lot of things in your house drawing a little bit of energy constantly all day long, that little bit actually can become substantial over a year's time. So this is another way that I actually save on electricity in my house. When I do need to cut something on, I will use a power strip so I can ensure that once that item is actually turned off, it is truly off and it is not drawing extra wattage from the system. Okay, the other thing that I use to save electricity in my house is solar cooking. This is my sun oven, and I set this up in the morning, and it kind of works like a slow cooker, but better to me. The food seems to taste a lot better. I was amazed the first time I put fish in this thing, how moist it was. It was just, I don't know, it was just a different type of taste, but it was absolutely delicious. Now, this does take a bit of a learning curve because you kind of have to understand how the sun is going to hit a certain area for you. But I will set this up, and I have had this get up to like 350 degrees on a really good day. And the good thing about a sun oven is that you can actually use it during the summer and the winter, as long as you can at least, your shadow can be cast by the sun. You can use this and it will get warm. I'm going to cook some rice and some fish in it today to kind of get me through the weekend for my supper. But I want to show you this. This is another reason I do not cut on my stove, because I will come out and I will set up my sun oven in the morning, and nothing you put in this will burn. You can literally set it up before you go to work, put it out, at a good spot in the sun, and when you come back in the evening, your food will be cooked. It will not be burnt. It will not be dried out. It will make I'm not a meat eater, but I have cooked meat for other people in this, and they just rave about how moist the meat is. But my favorite thing, of course, to cook in here is rice and fish and vegetables, and they come out absolutely wonderful. So this is another power saving tip. It is a bit pricey. There are cheaper versions of solar ovens, but like I said, there is a learning curve, so you do kind of have to play with it a little bit. You have to check out your yard and see where the sun is most of the day. And I'm home all day usually, so I will come out and I will turn this every 30 minutes to get the maximum amount of heat. So, like a lot of times it'll only take me maybe like 2 hours, or even for chicken. If I put chicken in here for a friend, it usually in the oven, it'll take me 45 minutes. If I've used my solar oven and I'm home and I can come out and turn it as the sun moves, I can do it within an hour. So it is very cost efficient, and I love using the sun oven. And like I said, there are other options that are a lot cheaper. I think I've seen one on Amazon for like $80. This one is kind of like the Cadillac of sun ovens, of solar ovens, but I thoroughly enjoy it, and I think it was well worth the cost. I did have to save up for it, but to me, it has been well worth the cost, and I hope that helps. The other item that I use in my house to save electricity is a dryer rack. This rack is probably about a little over 5 feet tall. I can put a whole load of laundry, a regular load of laundry on this to dry. I started using this years ago. I think I ended up buying this because I still had kids at home at the time. And of course, the loads were larger. I had a clothesline, which I think everybody should. I did have a clothesline and, I would hang out clothes. But, when it rained outside or during the winter or, it just wasn't enough sunlight, I needed an option for those types of days. And, I didn't have any place in my house where I could really like kind of put up a line or anything. So I ended up doing a little research online and I found a lady who actually her husband hand makes these. So once you order them, it takes about 3 weeks and, he makes them by hand and then they ship it to you. But this has been the best investment. It's another item that I did have to save up for. But like I said, I did not, once my dryer broke, I never replaced it. And so I bought this in lieu of purchasing another dryer. And it has been the best investment I've ever made. During the winter time, I will bring this into the room where my fireplace is. And as I'll hang up my clothes and the fireplace, it warms up that room. It puts moisture in the air. And so that I can dry clothes all winter. During the summer, I can use it. I can sit it outside. You can take it in and out. I've put it up on my deck. I've put it out, in my sunroom. I've put comforters on here. It's big enough to accommodate large sheets, comforters, and I have a king size bed. So I will put king size sheets on here, and I've never had a problem drying anything that I've actually washed. So this has been a very good investment. When you use a dryer, that is another big draw item in your house. It uses a lot of electricity to use your dryer. And dryers tear up your clothes. All that little lint that you see in the lint trap, those are pieces of your clothes coming off. So I'm not a big dryer person. I still have clothes that I had 10 years ago because I do not put anything in a dryer. I never really have anything shrink or discolor from a dryer. Everything is hung up, and so my clothes tend to last a lot longer. And that was one of the things that my daughter told me after she moved out and she was out on her own. And of course, she's not like me, so she wanted a dryer. And she commented to me one day how her clothes did not last as long as when she lived at home and she hung everything out. So a dryer rack is a really good investment. You don't have to get one as big as I did. Like I said, I have king size sheets. So I really wanted something large enough to accommodate that. But, start out with just a little one from Walmart for like $20 and just use it and see how you feel about it. Some items that you hand wash, a dryer rack is a really good option to hang those up. You can put it in any room. And when you are drying clothes, you only need 3 items to dry clothes. You need the temperature, the wind, and time. And if you have 2 of those 3 items, your clothes will dry. And most of us can usually give the time, hang it up at night, go to work. When you come back, if there's enough warmth in your house or enough sunlight in the spot that you put your dryer, your clothes will be dry. So once again, this is another item that I use. It takes the place of my dryer. So that is something that I do not have on my electric bill. Thank you. I hope that helps. One of the most powerful things that you have at your disposal for saving electricity in your home is very simple, and it's something that everybody can do, and it's absolutely free. All it takes is for you to reach out and cut off a light switch. You will be amazed at how often we leave on lights in the house for convenience. You can cut off that light. So take the time and just be mindful as you go in and out of rooms to cut off that light switch. You will be surprised at how often, once you begin to notice it, how often you simply leave a room and leave on a light. Another thing that I use in my home to help cut down on the use of electricity are these little solar lights. These are made by BioLite. I tend to put them out in the morning. If you look on the back, there's like a little solar panel. And so I put those out in the morning to charge up for the evening. These, I usually don't put them out maybe once every 2 or 3 days because I don't run them constantly, so they keep the charge pretty well. I can get a lot of hours out of one charge. So these are BioLites, and they're just solar-powered lights. I originally bought these when for camping. And so I found that they work really good in the house. They give off a lot of light, and I mean enough to where I can put one on each side of a room. And so that'll kind of like light up the room for me so that I can move around if it's, once the sun goes down. And like I said, you put them out. If you look on the back, there's a little solar panel, and you can charge them. You also have the option to plug them in. There's a little place where you can plug in right here. And so you can use, I think it's like the little micro one, like for the cheaper little flip phones. You can plug that in and plug it into the wall, and you can also charge it that way. So it has multiple ways to charge, which I love in a product. But these are very good for emergency purposes, but, you know, just to save energy. Okay, this is one of these lights in my bathroom, and I will typically strategically place two in the bathroom, like when I'm taking a shower or something. But what I did is I came in here and I closed the door so it's totally dark, and you can see these actually put off quite a bit of light. And now you can dim them to save on the solar battery, but I will typically use two per room, and I'll put them on opposite sides of the room so that I have enough light. And so you'll see I actually get a fair amount of light using these. Now, the other thing that I also put in my bathroom are these little push lights. They don't give off a lot of light. Some of them actually give off more than others, and I've like rented places where they've put them in kids' rooms for night lights, and, you know, so the kids don't cut on the light for whatever reason. And these are actually very convenient for emergency purposes, just to have one in a room. So if the power goes out, you're in a room, you can kind of push that. But I prefer these solar powered little lights by BioLite, and I'm not, you know, advocating a particular company. I'm sure there's other ones. I just happen to like BioLite. But these little lights, and like I said, I have them in various areas of my house. I tend to kind of hang one in each room. So if I go in, it is typically next to the power switch. And so when I go into a room, I'll use that instead of clicking on a light switch. And I've just gotten into that habit over time. But they actually give off quite a bit of light. And like I said, I don't have them going constantly, so they actually last me quite a long time. And so this is another useful item if you're trying to decrease your use of electricity. And not only that, they're good for being prepared. You know, if this COVID-19 has taught us anything, is that we need to try to be prepared for things. And so in fact, probably a lot of the items that I use are also good preparedness items. So if the power goes out for whatever reason, you are not totally in the dark. You're not depending on candles, which is actually something else I do use, but maybe you have kids and you don't want to use that. Or maybe you have battery powered things that you use for light. Well, at some point you're going to run out of batteries. But with the solar lights that I have, and like I said, there's different types. I just prefer these particular ones. But with the solar lights, all you really have to do is just put them out in the morning, make sure they get enough sun. They also have the option where you can plug them in if you'd like to. I typically just put them out in the sun because I try not to use any electricity in my house. But you can plug them into like your laptop or to a regular plug in your house to charge them up. So they're very useful from a preparedness standpoint. You know, just put it in your emergency kit. And I think later on I'm going to try to do a video about an emergency type kit. I'm from Florida, so we always, you know, during hurricane season, there's like a list of things that everybody keeps in their house for emergencies, you know, like during the hurricane season. And I don't know if other parts of the country actually do that, but I think at some point I'm going to try to do a video on that. So a lot of these items that I'm showing you are really good from a preparedness standpoint, just to kind of keep somewhere just in case, you know. And I'm sure that power goes out everywhere, you know, like right now, you know, like I know out in California at some point they had the rolling power outages. And so something like this would have been very helpful so that you're not using candles or going through a lot of batteries. So I'm going to try to share more ideas with you. And I have a lot of things that I use in my house so that I don't have to cut on a light switch. But these are just a few. And I hope that this video is helpful. If anyone has any questions about a particular thing that I've shown you, or you want to find out where to purchase it, just leave it in the comments and I will answer you as quickly as possible. Thank you, and thank you for watching my video, and everyone have a really good day. Bye-bye.